Hi, good night, everybody.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess it's that time of the week again. It's time to say what we're stuck always saying, I told you so. Now, I was a little bit confused the other night because from my understanding, based on what we've been covering, what we've been reading, the John Fetterman and Dr. Oz debate was scheduled for October 29th, if I'm not mistaken. And then all of a sudden, I log on Twitter and I'm seeing all kinds of viral clips with John Fetterman and Dr. Oz. And so I guess Christmas came early this year, but here we are yet again saying I told you so. What did Democrats think was going to happen with this debate? I mean, what did John Fetterman's campaign think was going to happen? To be completely honest, it probably would have been better to just stay home to take the Katie Hobbs approach and to let your campaign dwindle and just avoid the embarrassment. I mean, the simple fact is here, folks, it's undeniable, it's not hateful to say, John Fetterman is not healthy. John Fetterman is not qualified to be senator of the great state of Pennsylvania. In no way, shape, or form is he ready to perform the duties as an elected official. And last night, well, very simply, it was the final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back. Dr. Oz rose to the occasion. Was it the greatest debate performance ever? Of course not. Was it the greatest closing statements I've ever heard? Definitely not. But Dr. Oz performed admirably. He did fine. And really the story here is that John Fetterman, well, he's not okay. And frankly, what the Democrats are doing here, putting him in that position, is equally not okay. Let's take a look at some of the moments from yesterday's debate. Let's talk about him. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's first start off with John Fetterman, or just the state of John Fetterman. The man is clearly not okay.
And how can a man, with 10 gigantic mansions, has unwilling to talk about a willing wage for anybody? Imagine a single mom trying with 2 children, trying to raise with them, realizing making $31,000 a year, $15 an hour. So I think it's critical that we be consistent, and I do not believe in supporting the Supreme Court. I'm also fighting for any forgotten community all across Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to be made to get back up. I've made my entire career dedicating to those kinds of pursuits. To me, careers are revealed by your real underlying values.
You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody. I'm running to serve Pennsylvania. He's running to use Pennsylvania.
And that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping 2 students 17 years ago to help them buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
This whole thing is morally reprehensible. Honestly, in a certain way, it's worse than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's situation is old age. It's debatable what's really going on. I mean, not really, but you guys get what I mean. With John Fetterman, it's a clear medical condition. I mean, it's actual damage, irreparable damage at that, done to his brain. It's a severe medical condition. He's not well, and Democrats are pushing this guy out on the debate stage. There's something deeply disturbing, something deeply unethical about that. And I mean, clearly, it's not gonna work. When you're campaigning for votes, it's not just slogans and talking points. You have to be able to rationalize your ideas, rationalize your policy stances. In other words, you have to tell people how you're going to achieve things, not that you're just gonna do things, but how you're gonna get there. For instance, on the issue of the minimum wage, John Fetterman claims that he's for a $15 minimum wage, but he literally does not have the ability to rationalize his point of view. He can't tell you how companies are gonna pay for it. He can't tell you what his plan is to allow companies to pay for it. He probably can't answer questions about inflation or the economic impacts that will likely follow a doubling of the minimum wage, or how geography plays a role here, because clearly a $15 minimum wage is a whole lot different in a big city than it is living in a rural area. There's a bunch of important questions here that people probably have that John Fetterman cannot understand or cannot respond to. That's not what people are looking for in a leader. And on the flip side, you have Dr. Oz, who's making a pretty compelling case. You have Dr. Oz, who's hitting on all of the right notes and packaging together pretty neat talking points, combined with the fact that he could actually answer questions about his stances and talking points. And so this is clearly an unfair race. I mean, frankly, this whole situation is unfair to John Fetterman. I don't know if it's his decision to continue and he's refused to resign, considering the medical episode that I think he had maybe 6 or whatever months ago, but whatever's going on here, it's just wrong and it's clearly unfair to John Fetterman. This man is not healthy enough to run and the Democrats should not be running him. It's that simple. And the fact that they are and they're willing to just look the other way tells you a lot about the Democrats. But at the end of the day here, when we're talking about John Fetterman as a candidate, the conversation lately is generally revolved around his health, which a lot of people say is unfair. Frankly, I think it's totally fair. But John Fetterman's medical condition or not, from my perspective, frankly, it changes absolutely nothing. The biggest issue for me isn't John Fetterman's health, it's John Fetterman as an entity, as a political candidate. You know, Dr. Oz said this during the debate the other night.
When John Fetterman brings up houses, the irony is he didn't pay for his own house. He got it for $1 from his sister, and he hasn't been able to earn a living on his own. He's lived off his parents.
A lot of lefties are linking this clip and they're making the point that Dr. Oz is an elitist. He's an elitist rich jerk looking down at John Fetterman. But I mean, come on, can we be real here for a second? This is probably the most important distinction here between Dr. Oz and John Fetterman. Dr. Oz is right. I wrote this on my Twitter as I was watching the debate. If it took John Fetterman 49 years to move out of his parents' basement, well then he's probably not qualified to be a United States senator. I mean, that to me just seems like basic common sense. I mean, that's been my take since the start of this thing. You want the most competent people leading government. You want people with business experience. You want people with money experience. People who understand what it is to build something, what it is to solve problems. And the simple fact of the matter is here, I mean, completely omitting John Fetterman's health issues. I mean, the guy is clearly just a loaf. He doesn't have enough real world experience and he doesn't have a good grasp or understanding of the issues. At the end of the day, that is my perspective, and the whole health issue doesn't even really come into the equation. And I think what most people saw here was once again the contrast between the two. Most of the emphasis in this video is on John Fetterman, but part of the same story here is that Dr. Oz performed well and the contrast between the two candidates was clear. Let's end this video with a little bit of a highlight reel from Dr. Oz's performance. The contrast is clear.
Are you unhappy with where America's headed? I am. And if you are as well, then I'm the candidate for change. I'm a living embodiment of the American dream. I believe we're the land of opportunity, the land of plenty. I believe we can balance a budget without recklessly spending. I believe we can have an unleashed energy policy that helps us all. I believe that we can have safe city streets and a secure border so legal immigrants can come across, but you shut the fentanyl out. I believe we can give parents choice in where their kids go to school. We can have affordable health care. But most of all, I believe in you. And if you can do this together, and we can, I would ask for your vote on Election Day. God bless you. With multiple people who say their personal lives have been destroyed because of fentanyl overdoses. Yet John Fetterman not only wants an open border, not only supports sanctuary cities, but he wants to legalize all hard drugs in America, including narcotics. That is, I mean, out of touch with everybody. That radical position was tried in Oregon, which he endorsed, 50% homicide increase rate. What we have to do is ensure that we don't have increased inflation, and the best way to do that is reduce gas prices. John Fetterman has gone after the energy industry, called it a stain on Pennsylvania, and argued we have to ban fracking. That is disconnected from Pennsylvanians.
Thank you.